Hello there, and welcome to today's episode. I'm Dr. Michael Harris, and I'm thrilled you've joined me today as we dive into a topic that touches every single one of us: self-love and building healthy self-esteem. Have you ever looked in the mirror and struggled to appreciate the person staring back at you? Or perhaps you've accomplished something significant, yet that inner voice still whispers that you're not quite good enough. If so, you're certainly not alone. In a world constantly sending us messages about how we should look, act, and feel, cultivating genuine self-love has become one of the most profound challenges and opportunities of our time. Before we begin this journey together, I want you to take a deep breath. That's right, inhale slowly and exhale completely. In many ways, this simple act of conscious breathing symbolizes what we'll be talking about today: the intentional practice of connecting with yourself and honoring your needs. Self-love isn't just a trendy concept or a luxury for the privileged few. It's a fundamental psychological need that impacts every aspect of our lives, from our relationships and career choices to our physical health and inner peace. Today, we're going to explore what authentic self-love truly means, why so many of us struggle with it, and most importantly, practical, evidence-based strategies to nurture and strengthen your relationship with yourself. Whether you're currently navigating a difficult period of self-doubt or simply looking to deepen your sense of self-worth, this episode is designed to offer you meaningful insights and actionable tools that you can begin implementing today. So, let's embark on this transformative journey together, exploring the art and science of loving yourself more fully. Because when you truly begin to value your inherent worth, you don't just change your own life. You change how you show up in the world and connect with others. And that, my friends, creates ripples that extend far beyond what you might imagine. When we talk about self-love, what exactly do we mean? This term has become so commonplace in personal development circles that it's easy to dismiss it as just another feel-good buzzword. But self-love is far more nuanced and profound than simply feeling good about yourself on a surface level. At its core, self-love is about developing a relationship with yourself that is characterized by genuine care, respect, compassion, and acceptance. It's important to distinguish authentic self-love from narcissism or self-obsession. True self-love isn't about believing you're perfect or superior to others. Rather, it's about accepting yourself as a whole person, complete with strengths and weaknesses, successes and failures, dreams and disappointments. It's acknowledging that you are worthy of care and kindness simply because you exist, not because of what you achieve or how others perceive you. From a psychological perspective, self-love aligns closely with what psychologists call unconditional positive regard, a concept pioneered by humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers. Rogers proposed that when individuals experience being valued and accepted without conditions, they naturally move toward greater psychological health and fulfillment. With self-love, you're essentially offering yourself that same unconditional positive regard that Rogers found so healing in therapeutic relationships. Self-love also incorporates elements of self-compassion, a concept thoroughly researched by Dr. Kristen Neff. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a good friend during challenging times. It means acknowledging your suffering without judgment and recognizing that imperfection is part of the shared human experience. But why does self-love matter so much? The research is clear: individuals with healthy self-esteem and self-compassion tend to experience greater psychological well-being, more satisfying relationships, increased resilience in the face of adversity, and even better physical health outcomes. When you genuinely love yourself, you make choices that honor your needs and values. You set appropriate boundaries in relationships. You pursue goals that align with your authentic desires rather than seeking external validation. In essence, self-love becomes the foundation upon which you build a fulfilling life. It's also worth noting that self-love isn't a fixed trait. It's a practice and a process. Like any important relationship, your relationship with yourself requires ongoing attention, intention, and care. There will be times when it feels easier to access self-compassion, and other times when you struggle to feel worthy or enough. This fluctuation is completely normal and part of the human experience. Think of self-love as a muscle that can be strengthened over time through consistent practice. With dedication and the right approaches, you can develop a more loving, accepting relationship with yourself that sustains you through life's inevitable ups and downs. Now, Let's take a moment to explore why so many of us struggle with self-love in the first place. What makes this seemingly natural capacity so difficult to access for many people? For many individuals, challenges with self-love begin in childhood. Our earliest experiences in relationships, particularly with primary caregivers, play a crucial role in shaping our self-concept. Children who consistently receive the message that they are inherently valuable, that their feelings matter, and that they are worthy of love and care tend to internalize these beliefs. Conversely, children who experience criticism, conditional approval, neglect, or abuse often develop the belief that they are fundamentally unworthy or undeserving of love. These early experiences create what psychologists call internal working models, or mental templates that guide how we view ourselves and interact with others throughout life. While these templates develop early, they don't have to be permanent. With awareness and intentional work, these patterns can be revised and healed. Beyond childhood experiences, we live in a culture that often undermines authentic self-love. We're bombarded with messages suggesting we're not enough as we are, not attractive enough, not successful enough, not productive enough. Social media platforms, while offering meaningful connection in many ways, can also exacerbate feelings of inadequacy as we compare our behind-the-scenes reality to others' highlight reels. The consumerist nature of our society also plays a role, as businesses often profit from our insecurities. Marketing strategies frequently involve creating a sense of lack or deficiency that only their product can supposedly fix. This constant exposure to messages suggesting you're incomplete or inadequate without external additions can erode your sense of inherent wholeness and worth. Perfectionism also creates significant barriers to self-love. Many people operate with the belief that they'll be worthy of love and acceptance once they achieve certain goals or eliminate perceived flaws. This perfectionistic mindset creates a conditional relationship with yourself. I love myself when. This approach perpetually postpones self-acceptance, as there will always be new standards to meet and flaws to fix. For many, particularly those from marginalized groups, societal prejudice and discrimination create additional challenges to developing healthy self-esteem. When you consistently receive messages from the broader culture that devalue aspects of your identity, cultivating self-love requires additional intentional work to counter these harmful narratives. It's also worth noting that mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, and eating disorders often involve distorted self-perception and harsh self-criticism. In these cases, professional support becomes an important component of building a healthier relationship with yourself. Understanding these barriers to self-love isn't about placing blame or dwelling in the past. Rather, awareness of these factors helps us approach our journey with greater compassion and strategic intention. Recognizing the origins of your self-critical patterns is often the first step toward changing them. Now that we've established what self-love is and why it can be challenging to cultivate, let's explore how you can begin recognizing the signs of low self-esteem in your own life. Awareness is always the first step toward meaningful change. Low self-esteem often manifests in subtle ways that you might not immediately connect to your relationship with yourself. One common sign is a persistent inner critic, that voice in your mind that judges your actions harshly, magnifies your mistakes, and dismisses your accomplishments. If you notice that your internal dialogue is dominated by criticism rather than encouragement, this may indicate challenges with self-esteem. Another indicator is difficulty accepting compliments or recognition. People with low self-esteem often deflect praise, attribute their successes to luck or external factors, or feel uncomfortable when others acknowledge their positive qualities or achievements. If you find yourself minimizing your accomplishments or feeling like an imposter, despite evidence of your competence, this could reflect underlying issues with self-worth. Excessive people-pleasing tendencies can also signal low self-esteem. When you don't value yourself sufficiently, you may prioritize others' needs and opinions over your own, fear rejection or disapproval, and struggle to set healthy boundaries. You might find yourself saying yes when you want to say no, or molding your behavior to gain acceptance from others. Perfectionism, as mentioned earlier, often correlates with low self-esteem. If you hold yourself to unrealistically high standards, feel devastated by minor mistakes, or delay completing projects due to fear of imperfection, you may be caught in perfectionistic patterns that reflect conditional self-worth. Negative comparison is another common sign, constantly measuring yourself against others and coming up short. In the age of social media, this tendency can be particularly damaging as you're comparing your everyday reality to carefully curated glimpses of others' lives. Physical manifestations of low self-esteem might include neglecting self-care, engaging in self-destructive behaviors, or developing psychosomatic symptoms like headaches, digestive issues, or constant fatigue. Your body often reflects your emotional state, and chronic negative self-perception can take a physical toll. Relationship patterns can also reveal self-esteem issues. You might settle for relationships where you're not truly valued, repeatedly choose partners who treat you poorly, or stay in unhealthy situations because you don't believe you deserve better. Alternatively, you might avoid close relationships altogether due to fear of rejection or belief that you're unlovable. Professional decisions might be affected as well. You may avoid pursuing promotions or opportunities that interest you because you don't believe you're capable or deserving. You might also overwork to prove your worth or accept less compensation than you deserve. If you recognize several of these patterns in your own life, please approach this recognition with compassion rather than criticism. These patterns often develop as adaptations to earlier life experiences. They were ways of protecting yourself or meeting needs in contexts where healthier options weren't available. Recognizing these patterns isn't about judging yourself, but about gaining clarity that can inform your growth. Now, let's shift our focus to practical strategies for building self-love and enhancing your self-esteem. While changing long-established patterns of self-perception takes time and consistent effort, there are concrete practices that can significantly shift your relationship with yourself. Let's explore these approaches, starting with self-awareness practices. Self-awareness forms the foundation of self-love. You can't develop a compassionate relationship with yourself if you're disconnected from your inner experience. Regular mindfulness practice, even just a few minutes of conscious breathing each day, can help you develop greater awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations without immediately judging or reacting to them. Journaling is another powerful tool for developing self-awareness. Consider setting aside time regularly to reflect on questions like, what am I feeling right now? What do I need in this moment? What patterns am I noticing in my thoughts or behaviors? What brought me joy today? What challenged me today? And what did I learn from it? The act of putting your thoughts on paper can create valuable distance between you and your emotions, allowing you to observe patterns more objectively. Body scan meditations can help you reconnect with your physical self, especially if you tend to live primarily in your head. This practice involves systematically bringing attention to different parts of your body, noticing sensations without judgment. This simple practice can foster greater embodiment and help you recognize and respond to your body's signals. Tracking your self-talk. Those automatic thoughts that run through your mind throughout the day can reveal important insights about how you relate to yourself. Consider keeping a log of your self-critical thoughts for a few days, noting when they occur and what triggers them. This awareness creates the opportunity to challenge and reframe these thoughts. Another aspect of self-awareness involves identifying your authentic values, what truly matters to you, independent of others' expectations or societal pressures. Take time to reflect on questions like, what activities make me lose track of time? When do I feel most alive and engaged? What qualities do I most admire in others? What would I regret not doing or being if I looked back on my life? Clarifying your values provides a compass for making choices that align with your authentic self rather than external expectations. With greater self-awareness established, you can begin the practice of self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a good friend during difficult times. This isn't about making excuses for yourself or avoiding responsibility. Rather, it's about approaching your challenges and shortcomings with gentleness instead of harsh judgment. When you make a mistake or face a setback, notice your automatic response. If it's self-criticism, try consciously shifting to a more compassionate perspective. Ask yourself, how would I respond to a friend in this situation? What words of support would I offer? Then direct that same compassionate response toward yourself. Another self-compassion practice involves placing your hand on your heart during moments of difficulty, combining gentle touch with kind words like, this is a moment of suffering, or may I be kind to myself in this moment. This simple gesture activates your parasympathetic nervous system, helping to soothe your stress response. Reminder phrases or mantras can help interrupt patterns of negative self-talk. Consider phrases like, I am doing the best I can with what I know right now. I am worthy of compassion. Or, this too is part of the human experience. Find words that resonate with you personally and return to them during challenging moments. Self-compassion also involves recognizing common humanity, the understanding that struggle, imperfection, and suffering are universal human experiences rather than evidence of personal deficiency. When you're struggling, remind yourself that millions of others have faced similar challenges. This perspective helps reduce the isolation that often accompanies difficult emotions. Active self-care is another crucial component of building self-love. This goes beyond occasional indulgences to encompass regular practices that honor your physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual needs. True self-care isn't selfish. It's a necessary foundation for showing up fully in your life and relationships. Physical self-care includes basics like adequate sleep, nutritious food, regular movement, and appropriate medical care. Consider where you might be neglecting your body's needs, perhaps due to overwork or prioritizing others' needs above your own. Remember that your body is the vehicle through which you experience life. It deserves your care and respect. Emotional self-care might involve creating space to process feelings through practices like journaling, talking with a trusted friend, or working with a therapist. It also means setting healthy boundaries to protect your emotional well-being and occasionally saying no to requests that would deplete you. Intellectual self-care could include engaging with stimulating books or podcasts, learning new skills, or having meaningful conversations that challenge your thinking. Spiritual self-care, regardless of your religious beliefs, involves connecting with something larger than yourself. Whether through formal, religious practice, time in nature, meditation, or creative expression. The key with self-care is consistency and intentionality. Rather than waiting until you're depleted to address your needs, consider creating regular rituals that nourish different aspects of your well-being. These don't need to be time-consuming. Even small, consistent acts of self-care communicate to yourself that you are worthy of attention and nurturing. Challenging negative thought patterns represents another essential aspect of building self-love. Over time, you've likely developed habitual ways of thinking about yourself that may not be accurate or helpful. Cognitive restructuring, a technique from cognitive behavioral therapy, can help you identify and modify these patterns. Start by becoming aware of common cognitive distortions or thinking traps. These include all or nothing thinking is, if I'm not perfect, I'm a failure. Overgeneralization, I always mess things up. Mental filtering, focusing exclusively on negatives while filtering out positives. Jumping to conclusions, making negative interpretations without evidence. Catastrophizing, expecting the worst possible outcome. And personalization, blaming yourself for events not entirely under your control. When you notice these distortions in your thinking, gently challenge them by asking, what evidence supports or contradicts this thought? Is there another way to interpret this situation? Would I judge someone else this harshly in the same circumstances? What advice would I give a friend thinking this way? This process isn't about forced positive thinking, but about developing a more balanced, realistic perspective. Consider creating a thought record, where you document negative thoughts, identify the distortions involved, and develop more balanced alternative perspectives. With consistent practice, this process becomes more automatic, and your inner dialogue naturally becomes more supportive. It's also valuable to explore the origins of your negative beliefs about yourself. Many self-critical thoughts stem from messages you received in childhood or difficult past experiences. Understanding where these beliefs originated can help you recognize that they are learned perspectives rather than objective truths about your worth. Setting healthy boundaries is another crucial aspect of self-love. Boundaries are the limits we set with others to protect our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Many people with low self-esteem struggle with boundaries, either having few limits allowing others to take advantage of them, or rigid, inflexible boundaries, keeping others at a distance to protect themselves. Start by getting clear about your own needs and limits. In what situations do you feel drained, resentful, or uncomfortable? These feelings often signal that a boundary is needed. Remember that you have the right to protect your time, energy, physical space, emotional well-being, values, and personal information. Practice communicating your boundaries clearly and directly, using I statements rather than accusations. For example, instead of You're always dumping your problems on me. Try, I need to limit our conversations about problems to 20 minutes as I'm feeling emotionally drained afterward. Remember that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's a necessary component of healthy relationships. When you honor your own needs and limits, you're actually able to show up more genuinely and generously for others. And importantly, you teach others how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. Recognizing and celebrating your strengths is another vital practice for building self-esteem. Many people with low self-worth focus primarily on perceived flaws while minimizing their positive qualities. Shifting this focus can significantly impact how you feel about yourself. Consider taking an inventory of your strengths, both character strengths like kindness, perseverance, or creativity, and skill-based strengths like analytical thinking, communication, or technical abilities. Ask trusted friends what strengths they see in you, as others often recognize qualities in us that we overlook in ourselves. Look for opportunities to use your strengths regularly, as engaging your natural talents creates a sense of flow and fulfillment. Research in positive psychology suggests that identifying and applying your signature strengths is one of the most reliable paths to increased well-being. Also, take time to acknowledge your accomplishments, both large and small. Keep a success journal where you record achievements, moments of growth, obstacles overcome, and positive feedback received. Review this journal regularly, especially during times when your self-confidence wavers. Developing a growth mindset, a concept developed by psychologist Carol Dweck, can also enhance self-love. A growth mindset involves seeing challenges as opportunities for development rather than evidence of fixed limitations. It's the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, effort, and learning from setbacks. With a growth mindset, failures and mistakes become valuable learning experiences rather than indictments of your worth. Consider asking, what can I learn from this? Rather than, what does this say about me? When facing challenges, this subtle shift can transform how you relate to difficulties and reduce the tendency to tie your self-worth to perfect performance. Cultivating gratitude offers another pathway to self-love. Regular gratitude practice helps shift your attention from what's lacking to what's present and positive in your life. This broader perspective can help balance the negativity bias that many of us experience, where we give more weight to negative events than positive ones. Consider establishing a daily gratitude ritual, perhaps writing down 3 things you're thankful for each morning or evening. Periodically include aspects of yourself in this practice. Qualities you appreciate about yourself, ways your body serves you, or choices you've made that you're grateful for. This intentional self-appreciation counters the tendency toward excessive self-criticism. Now, let's explore how our relationships impact and reflect our relationship with ourselves. Our connections with others can either reinforce negative self-perceptions or help us develop greater self-compassion and worth. Be intentional about the company you keep. Surrounding yourself with people who appreciate, respect, and value you can significantly influence how you view yourself. Consider whether your current relationships nurture or diminish your sense of worth. While you can't always choose every person in your life, you can often make choices about where you invest your time and emotional energy. Practice asking for what you need in relationships. Many people with low self-esteem hesitate to express their needs clearly, either believing they don't deserve to have their needs met or fearing rejection if they ask. Start with small requests with people you trust and notice how expressing your needs authentically often strengthens rather than damages meaningful relationships. Work on receiving love and appreciation from others. If you struggle with low self-worth, you might unconsciously block or discount genuine affection and recognition from those around you. Practice simply saying, thank you, when receiving compliments rather than deflecting them. Allow yourself to absorb positive feedback rather than immediately dismissing it. It's also important to address how comparison impacts self-esteem, particularly in the age of social media. The tendency to compare ourselves to others is natural, but when it becomes habitual, it can severely undermine self-love. Be mindful of your media consumption and how it affects your self-perception. Consider whether certain social media accounts, publications, or shows consistently leave you feeling inadequate or dissatisfied with yourself or your life. It may be helpful to unfollow accounts that trigger unhealthy comparison or limit time spent on platforms that foster these feelings. Remember that you're typically comparing your unfiltered reality to others' carefully curated presentations. Most people share their highlights while keeping struggles private, creating a skewed perception of reality. When you find yourself in comparison mode, gently redirect your attention to your own journey and the progress you've made relative to where you started. Instead of competitive comparison, try practicing inspired comparison, using others' achievements or qualities as motivation rather than evidence of your own inadequacy. Ask, what can I learn from this person? Rather than, why am I not more like them? Let's now address an aspect of self-love that many find particularly challenging: forgiving yourself for past mistakes and perceived failures. Self-forgiveness isn't about excusing harmful behaviors or avoiding responsibility. Rather, it's about releasing the grip of shame and self-punishment that prevents growth and learning. Start by acknowledging what happened without minimizing or exaggerating. Take appropriate responsibility for your actions without assuming blame for factors beyond your control. Consider what you've learned from the experience and how this learning has helped you grow or might influence your future choices. Remember that making mistakes is an inevitable part of being human rather than evidence of fundamental unworthiness. Every person has a history of errors, poor choices, and missed opportunities. These don't define your value or potential. If you're struggling with self-forgiveness around a particular issue, consider writing a letter of compassion to yourself from the perspective of a wise, loving friend or mentor. What would this person say about your situation? How would they help you move forward with self-respect intact? Sometimes self-forgiveness involves making amends where possible. If your actions have harmed others, appropriate apologies and changed behavior can support your internal healing process. However, be mindful that forgiveness ultimately happens within you. It isn't dependent on others' responses. Throughout this exploration of self-love, we've touched on numerous practices that can help you develop a healthier relationship with yourself. Now, let's discuss how to integrate these approaches into your daily life in sustainable ways that promote lasting change. Remember that developing self-love is a practice rather than a destination. You won't suddenly wake up one day having permanently resolved all self-doubt. Rather, you'll develop greater capacity to relate to yourself with kindness even when doubts arise. Start small and focus on consistency rather than perfection. Consider selecting just 1 or 2 practices to implement initially, perhaps spending 5 minutes each morning in mindful reflection or keeping a simple gratitude journal. Small, regular acts generally create more lasting change than ambitious regimens that prove unsustainable. Create environmental cues to support your practice. This might involve placing sticky notes with compassionate reminders on your mirror, setting gentle alarms on your phone to prompt mindful moments throughout the day, or keeping a self-compassion meditation accessible on your devices. Track your progress in ways that motivate rather than judge. Notice subtle shifts in how you respond to setbacks, how readily you can access self-compassion during difficult moments, or how your self-talk evolves over time. Celebrate these changes, however small, as evidence of your commitment to your own well-being. Consider creating a personal self-love ritual, a consistent practice that symbolizes your commitment to honoring yourself. This might be a weekly bath where you disconnect from technology and reconnect with yourself, a monthly letter of appreciation to yourself, or a daily moment of connecting with your values and intentions. Be patient with yourself through this process. Patterns of self-criticism often develop over decades. They won't transform overnight. When you notice yourself slipping into old habits of harsh self-judgment, treat this observation as a success you noticed rather than a failure. Each moment of awareness creates a new opportunity to choose a different response. It can also be helpful to connect with others who are on similar journeys. Consider joining a mindfulness group, self-compassion workshop, or therapy group focused on self-esteem. Sharing experiences with others normalizes the challenges and provides mutual support and accountability. For some individuals, professional support plays an important role in developing self-love, particularly if self-criticism is severe or connected to trauma, depression, anxiety, or other mental health conditions. Working with a skilled therapist can provide personalized guidance, help you understand the origins of negative self-perception, and offer evidence-based approaches to fostering greater self-compassion. Several therapeutic modalities specifically address self-esteem and self-compassion, including cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT), which helps identify and change negative thought patterns, acceptance and commitment therapies ACT, which focuses on psychological flexibility and value, aligned action compassion, focused therapy, designed specifically to help people develop self-compassion, and trauma-focused therapies that address how past experiences influence current self-perception. Don't hesitate to seek professional support if self-criticism is significantly impacting your quality of life, or if you're experiencing symptoms of depression, anxiety, or other mental health concerns. Reaching out for help is an act of self-love in itself, a recognition that you deserve support and relief from suffering. Let's now explore how self-love manifests in different contexts and life stages as the practice evolves throughout our lives and presents unique challenges and opportunities in various circumstances. For young adults establishing identity and independence, self-love often involves differentiating your own values and desires from those of your family of origin or peer groups. This period may include learning to trust your own judgment, developing confidence in making decisions, and establishing authentic relationships that reflect your emerging sense of self. In midlife, self-love frequently includes reconciling youthful expectations with reality, accepting aspects of life that haven't gone as planned, and finding meaning in current circumstances rather than constantly striving for some future state of perfection. This phase might involve reevaluating career paths, relationships, or lifestyle choices based on deeper understanding of your authentic needs and values. Later life presents opportunities to reflect on your journey with greater perspective, appreciate the wisdom gained through experience, and practice acceptance of physical changes and limitations. Self-love in this phase often involves focusing on meaning and connection rather than achievement or appearance, values that research shows contribute most significantly to well-being in later years. Major life transitions, whether career changes, relocation, relationship shifts, health challenges, or loss, often challenge our sense of self and require renewed self-compassion. During these periods, familiar sources of identity and worth may change, creating both vulnerability and opportunity for growth in self-perception. It's worth noting that cultural context significantly influences the experience and expression of self-love. Some cultures emphasize collective well-being over individual fulfillment, potentially creating tension around self-focus. Individuals from marginalized groups may face additional challenges in developing positive self-perception due to systemic inequities and prejudice. If you're navigating cultural expectations that conflict with your understanding of self-love, consider how you might honor your cultural values while still attending to your fundamental needs for self-compassion and worth. This isn't an either-or proposition. Many people find meaningful ways to integrate cultural heritage with authentic self-care and self-regard. As we approach the conclusion of our exploration, let's reflect on the broader significance of self-love beyond individual well-being. When you develop a healthier relationship with yourself, the effects ripple outward in ways that benefit your relationships and communities. From a stronger foundation of self-worth, you're better equipped to engage in authentic connections with others. Instead of seeking validation to fill an internal void, you can approach relationships from a place of wholeness and genuine curiosity about others. This shift often leads to more satisfying, balanced relationships characterized by mutuality rather than dependency or people-pleasing. With greater self-compassion, you're also more able to extend genuine compassion to others. Research consistently shows that self-compassion correlates with empathy, forgiveness, and altruistic behavior. Contrary to concerns that self-love might promote selfishness, individuals with healthy self-esteem actually tend to be more generous and considerate, perhaps because they're not operating from a place of scarcity. When you value and honor your authentic self, you also become more willing to share your unique gifts with the world. Many people minimize their talents or avoid taking risks due to fear of judgment or failure. As you develop greater self-acceptance, you become more willing to contribute your distinct perspective and abilities, potentially enriching your communities and work environments. Self-love also fosters greater resilience, enabling you to navigate life's inevitable challenges with more grace and less reactivity. This resilience benefits not only you but those around you, as you become a steadying presence during difficult times rather than someone who requires excessive reassurance or becomes overwhelmed by setbacks. In closing, I invite you to consider self-love not as a luxury or indulgence, but as a fundamental practice that supports your capacity to live with integrity, connect authentically, and contribute meaningfully. Developing a compassionate relationship with yourself is one of the most significant investments you can make in your overall well-being and your ability to engage fully in life. Remember that self-love isn't about achieving perfection in how you relate to yourself. Like any important relationship, your relationship with yourself will have moments of closeness and distance, clarity and confusion, ease and effort. The goal isn't to eliminate all self-doubt or criticism, but to develop greater capacity to meet yourself with understanding and kindness in all your experiences. As you move forward from this conversation, consider one small step you might take today to nurture your relationship with yourself. Perhaps it's a moment of mindful breathing, a compassionate word during a challenging situation, or setting a boundary that honors your needs. Whatever form it takes, this intention plants a seed that can grow with consistent attention over time. I believe deeply in your capacity to develop a more loving relationship with yourself. Regardless of your past experiences or current challenges, the very fact that you've engaged with this topic suggests a readiness to explore new possibilities in how you relate to yourself. That openness itself is worth celebrating. Thank you for sharing this exploration of self-love with me today. I hope you found ideas and practices that resonate with your unique journey and needs. If this conversation has been valuable to you, I'd be grateful if you'd consider subscribing to this channel, liking this video, or sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps these conversations reach others who might benefit from them, creating a ripple effect of greater self-compassion and well-being. Until next time, remember that you are worthy of your own kindness and care simply because you exist. No achievements, external validation, or perfected behavior required. Your inherent worth is already complete. The journey is about discovering and remembering this truth again and again with gentle persistence and hope. Self-love isn't just a personal journey. It's a revolutionary act in a world that often encourages self-criticism and constant striving for improvement. By choosing to relate to yourself with greater compassion and acceptance, you're not only enhancing your own well-being but contributing to a culture that values authentic humanity over perfectionism and performance. As we conclude, I want to emphasize that developing self-love is not about reaching some idealized state where you never experience self-doubt or criticism. Rather, it's about cultivating a more balanced, nuanced relationship with yourself, one that includes awareness of areas for growth alongside genuine appreciation for your inherent worth and the qualities you bring to the world. The practices we've explored today, from mindfulness and cognitive restructuring to boundary setting and self-compassion, are tools to support this journey. They aren't prescriptions to follow perfectly, but invitations to experiment with different approaches and discover what resonates most deeply with your unique needs and circumstances. Remember that this journey happens one moment, one choice, one breath at a time. Each time you pause before responding harshly to yourself, each time you honor a personal boundary, each time you acknowledge your own suffering with compassion, these seemingly small acts create profound shifts in your relationship with yourself over time. And if you find yourself struggling at times, forgetting these practices, falling into old patterns of self-criticism, or feeling disconnected from your sense of worth, know that this too is part of the process. The path isn't linear but cyclical, with periods of clarity and confusion, connection and distance. Your commitment isn't to perfect self-love, but to return to the intention of relating to yourself with kindness, again and again, whatever arises. As you move forward from this conversation, I encourage you to be gentle with your expectations. Consider selecting just one practice that resonated with you today and exploring it consistently over the coming weeks. Notice what shifts, what challenges arise, what insights emerge. Trust that small, consistent steps create more lasting change than dramatic but unsustainable efforts. I also invite you to seek connection with others who support your journey toward greater self-compassion. Share your insights and challenges with trusted friends. Consider joining communities focused on mindfulness, well-being, or personal growth. The path towards self-love becomes richer and more sustainable when walked alongside others who share similar intentions. And remember that professional support is available if you're navigating particularly challenging aspects of your relationship with yourself. Working with a skilled therapist or counselor can provide personalized guidance and structured approaches to developing greater self-compassion, especially if your self-criticism connects to trauma, depression, anxiety, or other mental health concerns. Above all, trust your capacity to grow in how you relate to yourself. The fact that you've engaged with this topic reflects a readiness to explore new possibilities in your relationship with yourself. That openness, that willingness to question habitual patterns and consider alternatives, is tremendously valuable and worth acknowledging. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of self-love and self-esteem. Your presence and attention create ripples that extend beyond this conversation, influencing how you show up for yourself and others in countless ways. If you've found this discussion helpful, I'd greatly appreciate your subscribing to the channel, liking this video, or sharing your thoughts or questions in the comments. Your engagement helps these conversations reach others who might benefit from them and creates a community of growth and support. As we cultivate self-love individually, we collectively create a world where authenticity is valued over perfection, where compassion tempers judgment, and where each person's inherent worth is recognized. This isn't just a personal transformation, but a cultural one. And every step you take toward greater self-acceptance contributes to this broader shift. I believe that learning to love ourselves more fully is one of the most significant journeys we undertake as humans. It influences every choice we make, every relationship we form, and every dream we pursue. While the path isn't always straightforward, the potential rewards, greater peace, more authentic connections, increased resilience, and deeper fulfillment make it profoundly worthwhile. Remember that wherever you are in your journey with self-love, whether taking your first conscious steps or deepening a practice you've maintained for years, you're exactly where you need to be. Each moment offers a fresh opportunity to relate to yourself with greater kindness, to honor your needs and values, and to recognize the unique gifts you bring to the world simply by being who you are. I'll leave you with this final thought: you are worthy of love and belonging, not because of what you achieve or how others perceive you, but simply because you exist. Your worth is inherent and complete, requiring no external validation or perfected behavior. The journey of self-love isn't about becoming worthy. It's about remembering and honoring the worth that has been yours all along. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Notice the small victories, forgive the inevitable stumbles, and trust in your capacity to grow. And most importantly, remember that you're never alone on this journey. Millions of others are walking similar paths, learning day by day to embrace themselves more fully, just as you are. Thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Michael Harris, and I look forward to exploring more aspects of psychological well-being with you in future episodes. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below sharing one insight or practice from today's discussion that resonated with you. Your engagement truly matters, and I read every comment personally, wishing you well on your journey toward greater self-love and authentic living. Take care, and I'll see you next time.